Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Christopher. Today we're going to take a look at the Egnater Tweaker 88 head. I'm running this head through my orange 212 cabinet. I'm going to be playing my homemade Yngwie Malmsteen Strat that I built. It's this guy here. He's got the scallop frets, brass nut. Of course it's not branded because, you know, there's no brand. I got GFS pickups in here, so dual humbuckers. One's single coil size, of course. Awesome guitar, plays great, sounds great. That's what we're using to get our tones today out of this amp. So, jump right in. We're on our clean channel here. And I'm on my position 2 on my switch because these humbuckers are very hot, so the in-betweens are kind of where I'm going to sit for my cleans because it's a little less loud and abrasive. For example, here's the in-between, the number 2 position. Now if I put that on the humbucker, it's a little bit too hot for what I want to do right now. So here's a clean channel. I have to mention also that on the top of the amp right up here, you can kind of see in the video, I have a reverb pedal that's going into the effects loop, which is switchable here on the pedal. So if I don't want reverb, nice dry signal. I prefer it with a little bit of reverb. And the reverb that I'm using is the Marine Layer reverb from Fender. Awesome pedal, highly recommend it. So, without further ado, here we go. Lead sound. I'm sorry, not the lead sound, the clean sound. Holy crap, I'm having trash mouth today. So, there's so many things that you can do with this amp as far as getting different sounds. As you can see, I have my treble and my mid cranked. This is a very dark sounding head. The low end on this head is prevalent. So you can see I got the bass turned up just a tiny bit past halfway, and it's plenty bassy. You're not going to hear it through YouTube because of the compression and all that, and the bass doesn't translate from a guitar speaker onto YouTube very well. So you're not going to hear that too well. But the middle and the treble, I have it cranked up, and it's not abrasive like the treble on here. It doesn't stab you in the face like a lot of trebles do if you crank it up like that. In the case of this amp, I think it kind of needs to have that treble boosted up like that. Otherwise, it's a little too dark, and I'll show you what I mean. If I put everything at halfway here, I'm going to leave the bass right where it is because you're not going to hear a difference anyway. So you'll hear it's a little bit, it's a lot darker actually. Now if I bring the treble up all the way like it was, it's not killing you at all. It's actually a very usable treble. The middle, same thing. You crank it up, gives you a little more honk, which I kind of like. You can also turn it all the way down and get a nice scoop. Ooh, that was a horrible chord. But yeah, so very cool, usable treble and middle. I prefer them to be up. Now, the one thing that I really am not a huge fan of on this amp is that EQ, the treble, middle, and bass, is shared between your rhythm and your lead tones. This is a 2-channel. You got a rhythm and a lead channel, and it's a shared EQ. So you kind of have to find a happy spot where your distortion sound and your clean sound can, you know, coexist. Sometimes that's a little bit tough because I like my EQ on my clean channel a little bit different than what I do on my gain channel. For example, my gain channel, I tend to like the mids to be about at the halfway point, maybe a little bit above it like this on my gain channel. But because it's a shared EQ, you kind of have to live with what you get. So clean channel sounds like this. As you can see over here, we've got rhythm and gain. These are, I'm sorry, rhythm and lead. These are the gain knobs for each channel. So you can adjust how much crunch you're getting. And with a clean channel, the more you turn this up, the more you'll have to adjust your volume because the gain pushes the clean channel a little bit harder. Right now you can see the gain is almost off. I got it at a very low level on the rhythm channel, which is what I'm on now, which I call the clean. But next to that gain knob, you see you got these 4 switches. You've got tight or deep, bright or normal, hot or clean, mid-cut or normal. So I have it set to mid-cut with the mids cranked. Does that make sense? Maybe not. But it sounds good. And I have it set to normal. If I put it on bright, actually let me show you an example before bright. Right, then I turn it on bright. So even with the bright switch engaged, the treble does not tear your face off. It's pretty nice, actually. I personally prefer it in the normal switch. But I prefer it in the up, in the bright, on my lead channel. But we'll get to that later. So the mid-cut, which is down here, mid-cut or normal. Right now I have it on mid-cut. Put it on normal, and you get even more honk. I prefer the mid-cut, and I have it set to hot right now on the rhythm channel. Here's the difference. There's a clean. You lose a lot of volume because the gain stage now got cut. That's basically what that switch does, the hot and clean. It boosts your gain. So in order to hear the clean, you gotta turn it up. The volume's over here. So this is the gain knob, and you can hear the volume just gets crushed when you turn it way down. That's in the clean channel. Even if I give it, you know, half of the gain that it has, now you get some crazy volume. So I gotta turn this down. That was loud. Still is. But now you can hear what happens when you put the hot on. You can already hear the hum got more. If I go to one of my humbuckers with that, it serves as a very usable, crunchy rhythm tone, you know? So if you don't need a super clean, you can set it up like that and then have a hot channel. I personally prefer to have it cleaned up a bit. And then there's a deep and tight switch, which you're probably not going to hear, because like I said, the low end going through YouTube, you won't be able to hear it through the camera. But don't know if you'll hear that. It definitely gives it a more boomy, of a blooming kind of a sound, if that makes any sense. So in my number 4 position now, which is like kind of like the middle and neck, even though I don't have a middle pickup, I'm using a super switch, or a mega switch I think it's called, from Stu Mac. So here you get a little honkier tone because I'm near the neck pickup. Very, very good sounding clean. To further sculpt your sound, on the EQ section, you can see there's a switch. Right now I'm set to British. In the middle is an AC, and then at the top there's a USA, and it does a pretty big curve change on the EQ. So on the British, it kind of pumps the middle up a little bit and gives it that Marshall kind of a sound. If I go in the middle, it's the AC, which is supposed to be like a Vox. And it's a lot smoother, a little bit more round. Very nice sound on the Vox setting. I like it a lot. The other part, actually before I move on, let's see what USA sounds like. So USA sounds a little bit thicker, right? So you start to get that almost a Mesa Boogie, I guess, or a Fender. Now see, this is another thing that I don't like about the amp, is that the USA setting on the clean, to me, sounds the best. It's got that Fender-y chime, you know, it's beautiful sounding. Very, very awesome clean sound on the USA setting. But when I move over to the lead channel, I like the British sound better. So it kind of stinks that I can't, you know, have that as an option on the pedal or something, you know, where I could switch the two. That's the one thing about this amp, or a couple of things about this amp that I don't like, is the shared features. I don't like that. But you can make it very usable. The other thing that we have that is not shared that I like is on the master volume section. Next to the knob, you'll see there's a switch that says vintage or modern. And right now I'm in the modern side. Now if I switch this up and go to vintage, it kind of thins out a little bit. So it'll give you a little bit more spank. Right, so like telly players or whatever will probably set that to vintage. I prefer it on the modern. Okay, the last thing to show you is the boost. So each channel has a separate boost, and I dig the way this is set up because you got two different kinds of boosts that you can use per channel. You can see on the boost switch over here, it's got off in the middle, so you get no boost. You got clean at the top, which means it doesn't add any gain when you boost it. It just pushes the volume up. Or on the bottom, you got a gain, which also boosts the volume as well as the gain. So if I show you the boost on my rhythm channel, here's the funny thing. It's actually a separate channel almost, because you can actually set the boost so that it's a lower volume. See, I had to kind of shut it off. So it replaces your volume, this as your volume. So you can set exactly what kind of a volume change you get, which, you know, I guess there's probably a situation where you can use it to cut your volume as well. But yeah, that's what the boost does. If I go to the full humbucker mode on this guitar, you can hear that it boosts the gain considerably. So you can use it as a very cool lead change. You know, if you go into a solo or something and don't want to be ripping your face off with gain, you can use that boost on the rhythm channel. And that's going to do it for the clean side of things. So we're going to move over now to the dirty channel, which is my favorite channel on the amp. I have it set pretty good right now as far as how much gain I got going. You can see over here I'm a little bit past to the halfway point, probably over at 1 o'clock on the clock. Let's turn that boost off. So it's got a ton of gain. I can still get more. I'm only a little bit after halfway here. But earlier I told you this is a very dark sounding amp. This channel really shows you how dark it is, and you in my opinion, you need to have the treble in the middle kind of boosted on this thing in order to get a really good gain sound. I'm going to turn this up a little bit. But it's got such a good gain stage on it. It's really, really awesome sounding, if you ask me. Sounds great. You can shut off the reverb. So here's where I'm going to show you how dark this amp is. If we bring these guys down to about halfway, it starts to sound like a little bit of a wet blanket got thrown over the amp. And just to show you, I have the bright turned on over here, and it still sounds that dark. I have the mid cut turned on, so I'm going to turn that down to normal so you can hear the difference. has nothing to do really with this guitar, because it does the same thing on every guitar I have. Plus, this is a really bright, hot humbucker in the bridge position that I'm using. So really the amp is that dark. So if I turn these back up, even without the middle turned up, it sounds great. So you can play with the middle. Very versatile sounding. Let's try putting this back on mid-cut. I like that right there, personally. I'm on hot. If you put it on clean, you lose a little bit of the gain. So if you want to go a little bluesier, you put it on the clean setting over here, and it bluesies up that lead channel a little bit. I like it on the hot, personally. Let's see what happens when we turn the gain down on the hot. Pretty much the same thing that happens if you put it on clean. So now if we turn this guy up, it's funny, you kind of hear it hit a lead break in that, I'm sorry, a gain break in that knob. All of a sudden it starts to get really hot once you get a little bit past the midway point. Right here it starts to really beef up. Give it all it's got. Tons of gain. I prefer it right about here. I've seen some reviews on this amp in the past where people say that it doesn't do high gain metal tones, and I fully disagree. I think you can play high gain all day on this thing. It sounds amazing. And back to the EQ section. We're on the USA setting right now, and it sounds like that. Now if I go to the AC, which is the Vox in the middle, it tosses a blanket on a little bit. So, I don't know. I wouldn't personally use the AC for the high gain. I mean, unless you're going for that Eric Johnson-y kind of a tone, I guess. You know, turn this down and give a... Maybe not Eric Johnson. like it on the high gain channel. It just has a little bit more sparkle to it, you know. I personally prefer it here. That's where I like it. I also like a little bit of reverb. Yeah. So, last part of the EQ curve in here for the gain channel. We get the vintage and the modern. So we're in modern right now. We switch it over to vintage. Just like it did with the clean channel, it leans it out a little bit, it thins it. So you get a little bit of a thinner tone. I like the modern setting. And again, you got the boost on the end. I got a microphonic guitar here. But yeah, the boost on the end over there, we got lead boost. And I currently have it set to the gain and volume, so you get a little bit more gain when you boost. You can hear the fizz. I don't know, maybe you can or you can't. When you boost it, you get a lot more gain. So, that's the amp pretty much. I hope I didn't skip anything. It's got KT88 power tubes in it, and then it's got 12AX7s for the preamp tubes. I think there's 4 preamp tubes. I might be wrong, there might be 6. But there's 2 KT88 tubes in there. This is the pedal that comes with the amp. You got a channel switch, an effects loop switch, and the boost switches for each channel. It's very heavy duty. It's made out of nice aluminum. It's got its own dedicated cable. So if, you know, you damage the cable, you're kind of screwed. But yeah, I'm sure you could get that replaced. But awesome amp. The thing is crazy loud. You can see my volumes are very low. And of course I'm sitting right in front of the amp too, so it doesn't help with feedback. But when I'm in the band room with this thing, it's ridiculous how much volume it has. Very, very, very versatile amp. As far as setting up different tones, I barely touched, you know, the surface of what this amp can actually do as far as sculpting the tones. It's called a tweaker for a reason. You can really tweak the tones in this thing a lot. And that's all I'm going to show you for now. I'm sure I'll have this amp in future videos. As always, leave a comment down below if there's something you want me to try with the amp, or, you know, throw certain pedals in front of it. I have a very limited amount of pedals, actually. But yeah, it's a great amp, and Sweetwater is blowing these things out at $450, which is stupid for a full-blown tube amp. that sounds this good. It's a crazy good amp for that kind of a money. It's probably the best tube amp you can buy. Under 500 bucks, it's definitely the best tube amp you can get your hands on right now, in my humbled opinion. So there it is, the Egnater Tweaker 88. Hope you enjoyed the video. Stay tuned for some more content in the future, and I'll see you then, YouTube. Take care. Bye-bye.